Okay, let's dive into this. Picture the scene, all right? We're in Rostov-on-Don. It's a steamy, suffocatingly hot evening during the 2018 FIFA World Cup. And the stakes, well, they literally could not be higher. On one side, we've got Mexico, who are just riding this ultimate high after completely stunning Germany in their opening match. And on the flip side, we have Korea Republic. They are backed into a corner, completely desperate for a result after a really tough loss to Sweden. Now, what unfolds on this pitch isn't just a football game. It's an absolute masterclass in tactical risk, relentless physical endurance, and the brutal, brutal reality of taking your chances.
Which brings us to this fascinating paradox. How exactly does a team absolutely dominate the attacking momentum, throw everything but the kitchen sink at their opponent, and still walk away with a loss? In sports, we really tend to romanticize sheer effort. This idea that if you just knock on the door enough times, well, eventually it simply has to open. But as we're going to see in this explainer, clinical efficiency can often be a ruthless, heartbreaking antidote to pure volume.
All right, moving into Section 1, desperate defense and early pressure, or as we should probably call it, surviving the storm.
Right from the opening whistle, Korea Republic didn't just knock on the door. They basically tried to kick it completely off its hinges. They came out with a level of intensity that totally eclipsed how they played against Sweden. To really grasp the early pressure Mexico was under, you just have to look at how these attacks rolled in, almost single-handedly orchestrated by Heung-min. He was an absolute force of nature out there. First, you get this dangerous drive where he's testing the waters. Then, boom, a second wave right after, a fizzing, rapid strike that took absolute total concentration to block. And then a third wave. Son is literally trying to bulldoze his way through the center backs. He's checking his angles, recalibrating, and just running with this relentless, terrifying power. And all that pressure, it forced Mexico into sheer survival mode. Actually, scratch that. It was pure desperation. The commentators captured it perfectly, saying, "What a desperate piece of defending." But it wasn't just desperate, it was incredibly sacrificial. These guys were throwing their bodies into harm's way. Hirving Lozano had to bail out his team defensively and took a super painful challenge doing it. Carlos Salcedo practically turned his own body into a human shield. Mexico's backline was scrambling, literally hanging on by a thread against these lightning-fast Korean thrusts.
Which shifts us to Section 2. Vela breaks the deadlock. The coolest man in Rostov-on-Don.
So here is the beautiful, kind of cruel reality of this sport. You can dominate the rhythm for 30 minutes straight, but one mistake shifts the entire tactical landscape. Korea's hyper-aggressive posture meant they were constantly living right on the edge. And it only took one precise rapid run from Mexico's captain, Andres Guardado, to completely expose that edge. Guardado makes a break into the box, and in a split second of panic, Jang Hyun-soo commits a fatal error and gives away a penalty. The ref was positioned absolutely perfectly to spot it. All that early Korean dominance just instantly neutralized by a single lapse in discipline. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer weight of history sitting on the penalty taker's shoulders right in this exact moment. Prior to this kick, there had been 13 penalties taken at the 2018 World Cup, and 3 of them had been missed. Those are incredibly nerve-wracking odds. When the heat is on, your team has been absolutely battered for half an hour, and an entire nation is watching, holding its breath. The fate of the entire match rested squarely on Carlos Vela.
And he did not flinch. Carlos Vela steps up, endures this agonizingly long wait while the referee is sorting out players on the edge of the box, and he just calmly slots it home. No big deal. He was, without a doubt, the coolest man in Rostov-on-Don that evening. Against the run of play, despite all of Korea Republic's early dominance, Mexico goes into halftime up 1-0. It is just a textbook lesson in taking the singular chance you are given.
Let's look at Section 3, a historic counterattack milestone and the cost of pushing forward. As we move into the second half, the tactical narrative takes this really fascinating turn. Korea Republic is trailing now, right? So their desperation naturally forces them to push even harder. But as we know in international football, pushing forward always comes with a heavy, heavy cost. They start throwing men forward, fighting tooth and nail to claw their way back. But in doing so, they are leaving these massive glaring gaps in their defense. And Mexico, they don't panic. They just sit back, absorb the pressure, and patiently wait to exploit those exact open spaces. It's a classic tactical standoff. Pure aggression versus cold calculation.
And when Korea finally overcommitted, Mexico executed a counterattack that was so clinically perfect, it honestly belongs in a coaching manual. It happens in 3 rapid-fire steps. Step 1, a sudden turnover. Ki Sung-young is robbed of the ball in midfield, and instantly, Lozano hits the accelerator.
Step 2. Because Korea left those gaps, Mexico immediately creates a numerical advantage, launching a 3-on-2 rush. Step 3. The ball finds Javier Hernández, and he does exactly what he is famous for. He cuts inside, leaves the defender sliding desperately in the wrong direction, and just finishes the play.
And guys, that finish wasn't just any goal. That strike marked Javier Chicharito Hernandez's 50th international goal for Mexico. 50! That is a historic, monumental milestone achieved on the biggest stage of all, and it effectively doubled Mexico's lead to 2-0. In just a handful of perfectly executed touches, Mexico completely dismantled a Korean side that had been laboring and fighting so hard all game long.
Which brings us to our final act, Section 4, late drama in Rostov-on-Don and a consolation masterpiece.
Of course, it's the World Cup, so it rarely lets us walk away without a massive spike in our heart rates. We find out pretty quickly that even with a comfortable lead, the immense pressure of this tournament can rattle absolutely anyone. Case in point, this jaw-dropping moment of total panic. Rafa Marquez, one of Mexico's greatest ever players by the way, inexplicably plays this super dangerous ball back to his goalkeeper Guillermo Ochoa. It is an absolute gift to the Korean attackers. Ochoa scrambles, barely averting what would have been a calamitous, momentum-shifting goal. It just goes to show you, even the most seasoned veterans aren't immune to the suffocating tension of a match like this.
But Korea Republic men, to their immense credit, they never stopped trying to pick the lock. Deep into stoppage time, Heung-min, who had literally tried everything, bulldozing, sprinting, driving his team forward all night, finally got his reward. Out of absolutely nowhere, he unleashed what can only be described as a beautiful, unsavable strike. It was a total goal of the tournament contender. If ever a single player earned a goal through sheer force of will alone, it was Son on that steamy evening.
But ultimately, it was a beautiful consolation that just arrived a little too late. So the crucial point is really summarized in the aftermath of the match. Mexico secures wins in their first 2 matches of a World Cup for only the second time in their entire history. That is a massive triumph for coach Juan Carlos Osorio, who rightfully led these joyous celebrations. Conversely, despite this valiant, high-octane effort, Korea Republic suffers their 6th defeat in their last 8 games. Their labors, while incredibly spectacular to watch, were entirely in vain.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought to mull over. Is taking massive tactical risks in sports always worth the potential cost? Korea Republic played with such incredible heart, pushing forward relentlessly, but that very bravery was exactly what Mexico so clinically exploited. It is the ultimate tightrope walk, right, between the desire to dominate and the bare necessity to survive. Think about that the next time you watch a team throw absolutely everything forward in the dying minutes of a game. Thanks so much for joining me for this